afternoon. I'm Kari Puleo, the Executive Director of the Greater Utica Chamber of Commerce and your host of the Leveling Up podcast, where we talk about all things going on in Utica, what's happening with our members at the Chamber, and special events you should be looking out for. Before I get started with my guest, I want to tell you a little bit about some news that's happening at the Chamber and with our members. Yesterday, I was lucky to have a behind-the-scenes tour of the new expansion of the FX Matt Brewery Company. Yesterday, Fred Matt announced that they have completed a $35 million expansion and are currently adding $11 million more of rehabilitation to the FX Matt Brewery Company. Over the past several years, the brewery industry has changed, adding all sorts of not only beer products, but flavored seltzer, wine in cans, specialty good-for-you drinks. And so it was wonderful to see how that's all done. I know that we're all looking forward to when we can get back to getting into the brewery, doing their wonderful tours, which end with tastings of their products. And I know you're going to look forward to seeing what's new there. In addition to this great expansion, the brewery has also added 25 new jobs. So if you know of somebody who wants to look forward to a new job at a great local company with a wonderful salary, head over to FX Matt Brewery website for information on those jobs. So it's a really great thing to see Utica growing in this capacity. I also want to tell you a little bit about Catalyst Small Business Week, which is coming up. Next week is Small Business Week, and Catalyst has chosen 5 of our members to recognize as great small businesses. We'll be visiting each of their locations, talking about what they do, giving you personal behind-the-scenes tours of their businesses. So look out for that. I want to tell you the award winners. On Monday, we will be visiting McGrogan Design. Tuesday, Clinton Tractor. Wednesday, Innovation Collective. Thursday, the Utica Zoo. And Friday, Universal Bookkeeper. So each of these members has been doing great things for our community. They grew during the pandemic. They adapted in new creative ways and expanded their business and helped their businesses to survive and grow. So we're excited to connect with each of these members. We'll be live on Facebook. You can check our website to see which times we'll be visiting these locations. But it's really great to support the wonderful things that our business community is doing. So talking about businesses that are surviving, adapting, new things that are happening in the local area, I have Tom Armitage with me today. He is the Senior Digital Marketing Team Lead at SiteSeeker. Tom has earned his master's degree in integrated marketing communication from West Virginia University, and he has a bachelor's in public relations from Utica College of Syracuse University. After holding marketing and PR roles at Savina and Overett, Tom joined the SiteSeeker team in 2013. He is also an adjunct professor at Utica College. He is also a content writer. His pieces have been featured in Entrepreneur, Marketing Profs, and PR Daily. While not working, he enjoys listening to punk rock and 90s rap and rooting for the Dallas Cowboys, which we will forgive on this podcast. So I wanted to invite Tom here to speak with me today because he published a book, an ebook, How Local Businesses Adapted During COVID-19. So Tom's here today to talk a little bit about this ebook and his background as a digital marketing specialist. So welcome, Tom.
Thanks, Kari.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how you came up with the idea for this book and some things that you learned, insights you gained behind it.
Sure. So last year when the closings were beginning, SiteSeeker, my teammates and I at SiteSeeker, we began to hold webinars on a bi-weekly basis, and we were trying to educate local community members, our current clients, prospective clients, people across our networks on what they can do to shift and kind of react to the changes that were taking place because of COVID. So it was mostly through the lens of sales and marketing, so how you can reallocate your dollars, since a lot of events, normal traditional outreach efforts were going to be shifted towards ultimately digital efforts. So we were doing those bi-weekly, and Devin Hoffman, one of my coworkers, was also doing a completely separate one on breweries. Okay. That's kind of his sweet spot. So we had Tea with Tom. Melinda and I would do ones every other week, and Devin would do similar ones, but for the brewery market. So as the year went on, we were kind of coaching a lot of businesses on what they could do to kind of react to those changes. And it was about probably November, December, when I thought it would be really cool to look at this from a post-mortem analysis of what businesses actually did. So 8 months prior, 9 months prior, we're like, this is what you should do. And now I want to take a look at what businesses actually did throughout that time period. So December, I started gauging some companies and some folks as to who would be interested in contributing to it. And then January, I started going hard with like reaching out to them, sitting down over coffee, doing virtual interviews and meetings, email meetings, and trying to gather as much insight as possible to compile this piece together. And what was really cool is I had about 15 companies that participated, and lots of different perspectives, I had nonprofits, corporate, small, large, and it was really cool to see how everybody kind of did something different.
Yeah, I mean, the landscape of business changed for an entire year. I mean, we never knew what Zoom was a year ago, 18 months ago. But, you know, a local company, Northland Communications, developed MaxQC, and they really reached out to all of their partners and to local businesses and nonprofits and offered them a local solution to help keep their business going. So tell us a little bit about the different company stories and what you saw, how they adapted.
So disclosure, Northland is one of our favorite clients, so shout out to Northland. So we obviously had them featured in the piece, but it was cool from their end because they had a product and a service that fit really, really well for what was going on, which is MaxQC, which is an equivalent of Zoom. And they didn't have to, but they started giving that for free to local companies that needed it, and schools who were relying on that heavily for students that needed to connect with teachers. So I love that from both just a community outreach standpoint as well as a PR initiative, and that ended up working out really, really well for them. So I love that side of the story. Some of the other ones that were featured, the Utica Zoo was a really, really cool one. Mark, who's no longer at the zoo, but he had an awesome story to tell. Him and his team, they ended up doing all sorts of virtual programming, and they had their website crash. There were so many people on it at one point.
Yeah, teachers really had to recreate and find new ways to convey their lessons. And you have the zoo, and they can offer, you know, all sorts of different educational lessons on zoology and biology of animals and a little bit of conservation. So they really adapted because they couldn't get people into the zoo, but they still had to sell their product because they still had animals to feed.
Exactly. And I think the schools were able to do a better job this year because they had 3 months to prepare for it throughout the summer because they knew that they were going to be doing remote learning come September. But last year it was just like, okay, you're not coming back first like 2 weeks, then it turned into 2 months, and then the rest of the school year. So Mark and the team at the zoo, they reacted really, really quickly to the virtual programming. And just to think, we work with a variety of partners at SiteSeeker. Some are very agile and react fast. Some are very corporate and red tape, and it takes a long time to implement things. 2 weeks is all it took the team at the zoo to come up with the concept, get the right equipment, set up their sets, arrange for the interviews or whatever needed to be done from the zoologists or the zookeepers side of it. And they were able to do that in a really, really short amount of time. And I think that the companies that reacted fast ended up seeing the most success because you didn't really have time to, every passing day was going to be lost revenue for some of these companies, which is why they had to react fast. It was better to react fast and kind of like go from there. And
sometimes you spend so much time trying to prepare and implement a solution quickly, but we just didn't have time. There wasn't the time there. So there was also, you know, a lot of other companies that had to use digital solutions to adapt their events. For example, the Boilermaker. They had to really pivot quickly. That's another example that's in this book of what they did.
The Boilermaker ended up turning to a virtual event. I think everybody was keeping their fingers crossed, like, please let it happen. Like, please just like.
I know, even this year we had to push it off so we can have that safely.
So they did the virtual event, and Jordan has some good information. They went to I think he said that the software that they used to record the times had the ability for virtual events. So they were able to submit their times through the registration app itself, and that way you could be recorded and kind of in the same system. But hopefully it all goes smoothly this year because it's just not the same, a virtual event as the live event.
Yeah. So tell me how your company helps to meet these needs. What kind of digital solutions do you come up with and propose to your clients?
Yeah, so I think the biggest change last year when COVID hit was a reallocation of dollars as it related to events and trade shows. We work with a lot of B2B partners, and they attend a lot of in-person events. They travel, they go to Vegas, Dallas, Chicago, going to these trade shows, and they come back with a whole book of leads, and that's their pipeline. That's what they use throughout the year to sell to. and to nurture those leads. And in an instant,
That's
that
gone.
book of business is gone.
Yeah.
So we were recommending taking those dollars and kind of allocating it towards digital marketing solutions, since that's SiteSeeker's sweet spot. So a lot of our recommendations ended up putting that and funneling those dollars into digital advertising, and that is a whole world in and of itself because there's so many options these days, as well as email marketing, and e-commerce is another sweet spot for companies right now because we saw an explosion in online purchases throughout COVID as the amount of screen time, the amount of content consumption throughout the past year is just astronomical compared to even the year before. So more people are feeling even more not that they weren't comfortable before buying online, but there was just more time being spent on, through digital channels to buy. So companies
how does a small company that maybe doesn't have any online presence for selling, how do they pivot to e-commerce?
So I think that the first thing is to think about what you can sell. So some companies have a physical product where it's just natural. Some companies may not have necessarily a product that can be purchased online, but there could be assorted other items that could fit. We're working on something right now for Clinton Tractor. It's still a little bit of a work in progress, but they have merchandise. So you're not necessarily going to buy a tractor through online, but there's merchandise that we can shift to an online capacity, an online store that can be purchased, obviously during the Christmas season. It's going to be a bigger time for sales, but there's other types of merchandise and other types of things that you can sell online that aren't necessarily your core product. So I think many companies, I wouldn't say all companies, but many companies have that opportunity to embrace e-commerce and try to bring in some additional residual income because of those channels.
Yeah, so you offer a whole host of solutions to meet all sorts of businesses' needs online, digitally, whether it's advertising or lead generating, e-commerce. You really kind of come up with the gamut of solutions.
Yeah, at SiteSeeker, our sweet spot is fully digital. We were born as a digital marketing company, and some of the other local advertising and marketing agencies, they were in the traditional media space and kind of became a digital marketing agency. But I think what's cool about SiteSeeker is that we were born as a digital marketing company. And it was right at the early days of Google. So we're really familiar with website development and search engine optimization and content marketing. And I think with COVID and what's taken place over the past 12 months, some of the services that we've been pushing harder because there's more opportunity there and there's more demand and companies are believing in it more is advertising, digital advertising, e-commerce, and lead generation. So I can touch on each one of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
A little bit. So digital advertising, most people just kind of assume Facebook and Google, which are two of the three big ones, Amazon rounding out the top three. But there's a lot of these other channels that allow for people like you and I to do advertising without the need of big, huge budgets or even like a dedicated rep inside of these companies. Over the past year, Hulu opened it up for regular direct buying. So
I know. I love when I'm like watching a TV show and I see a local commercial on Hulu.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm one of those people who switched away from having any sort of local cable channels.
And
so it's really
while,
nice to feel that familiarization.
For a while, it was only big companies that had the opportunity to go through those channels. But when they open up to self-service advertising, we can go through the platform itself, buy direct, have small local budgets, a local geographical focus, and we can do advertising through those channels itself. So you got Hulu, you got Spotify, Amazon, we have YouTube is another great resource. So companies that are really able to embrace digital advertising have more integrated programs. They're selecting the right channels that make the most sense for them based on where their audience is spending the most time. And it's not necessarily just Facebook or just Google or just Facebook and Google. There could be other platforms out there that make the most sense. It all depends on the company.
Yeah. So speaking of some of those social media channels, you're kind of into LinkedIn. I see you popping up there all the time. You know, you write these long, kind of really detailed,
hopefully you read them,
thought-provoking posts. So tell me a little bit how your social media helps brand you personally and professionally.
So everybody always says that. Whenever they sign into LinkedIn, they see my stuff because I do a post every morning. At 8 o'clock every morning, I usually have something. And I try to make them as thought-provoking as possible so it starts and stimulates engagement. But LinkedIn saw massive, massive growth over the past year, partly because of COVID and more people spending time on social. The other part is because Microsoft acquired them a couple years ago, and they've been really doing some good things for the LinkedIn software. But it's really cool to see. It's easier to get in front of strangers and build your network on LinkedIn as opposed to Facebook, Instagram. The algorithm inside of LinkedIn allows it to become the cliche term viral much more easily on that platform more than others. So I have people that I interact with every day with my posts that I didn't know the day before. So that's what makes it really, really cool.
So as a small business owner, would you say that's the place you really should be focusing? If you only have a certain amount of time, is that where you should be spending your time on social media?
It depends on what you sell. If you're business to consumer and you run like a local coffee shop, probably not. You're going to still find a sweet spot on Instagram, Facebook, maybe even Twitter, maybe even Snapchat. But from a social selling, online selling, much more for B2B companies, it's one of the best places that you can be right now. It's very hot. It's a way for you to make connections with people that you previously did not know. The community is very friendly. It's good to spark discussions. It's really good for learning too. I don't even read a lot of, I shouldn't say that, I don't read a lot. I don't read a lot of marketing publications anymore because I'm looking
getting
and
all
reading
your content,
all like the newest trends in marketing. I'm getting that from my LinkedIn feed because I'm following people that are posting like me every day on what the latest things are in digital marketing. So I mean, I could go to Search Engine Watch, Search Engine Journal, Social Media Examiner, but all those things, that those quote unquote like bloggers, journalists are covering, I'm already seeing on LinkedIn because people are posting and reacting and creating content around those newest trending topics. It's a really, really cool community.
Yeah. So knowing that you're a content writer, you kind of write in some creative ways for yourself too. Tell me a little bit about, and I know you know where I'm kind of leading you down this road. Tom kind of uses his writing a little creatively to come out with some rap lyrics.
Yeah. I'm
How'd you get into that?
a local hip hop artist.
So I've been writing rhymes since 6th grade. And it never became anything for a very long time. If you look, if I still had copies of my high school notebooks, there would just be rhymes in all the margins on every page. So it was always kind of like a hobby, and I never like equated it to poetry, like ever.
But it is.
Maybe it is. Like I think I have a newfound respect for. You have a newfound respect for any sort of hobby or art once you actually get into it.
And once you put yourself out there.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a little scary.
So my brother, who also is into hip hop music and making music, he got into it much more serious than I did several years back. Bought some really good equipment, learned the software for recording, mixing, mastering, and once he had a legitimate setup, it was much easier for me to embrace that hobby. So it wasn't just rhymes inside of a margin of a notebook anymore. I could actually bring it to life. So over the past 3 years, I've done 3 albums. Each February over the course of the past 3 years. My brother Eric has done, he's probably going to kill me if I don't remember exactly how many albums he's done, but he's done like 8 albums. We have friends, Kyle Partika, our buddy Leaky, he's done several, and Eric does the recording and a lot of the mixing and mastering for them as well. It's been fun.
So that kind of like helped you through the pandemic, this little creative outlet, and in addition to finding digital solutions to help these businesses.
I think that the creative side of my personality has always helped me in marketing, because marketing, you get real 2 sides to digital marketing or just traditional marketing, any sort of marketing. That's technical marketing, the functionality behind a website, what goes into the code, search engine optimization, analytics, data, and then you have the creative side. And some brands, some businesses embrace more of the creative side, some embrace more on the functionality side. But I think the brands that do it really, really well strike a happy medium down the center and have a love and respect for both of those sides. So the music side has definitely helped bring out creativity in me, and I've been able to lend that into my business and professionally.
Yeah. That's great. That's kind of really interesting background about you that I just wanted to kind of.
I didn't really thought about connecting it to work.
No,
you're right.
It is. It does. It's kind of that left-right brain connecting, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. So the name of this podcast is the Leveling Up Podcast. So I want to talk a little bit about. Don't forget, you're connected to a mic. You're connected to a mic.
I was bound to do that. He warned me too.
So tell me a little bit about how you've had to level up in your life to get where you are personally and professionally. What kind of lessons have you learned to kind of get where you are today? Because like I said, I see you everywhere lately on LinkedIn.
Appreciate that. Yeah, it means I'm doing something good. I gave this some thought because Kari warned me about this question. And the one I'm going to go with is decluttering your life, which I know is kind of hot right now. But that's okay. It's popular. It's something a lot of people have been talking about. But I've been teaching social media, the social media marketing course at UC for 8 years. This is my 8th year teaching it. So when I talk about this, it kind of seems a bit hypocritical because I teach social media, I preach social media on behalf of my business, but I think that when you're using social media a lot, and it's easy to misuse social media.
Right.
I'll start by saying
that endless scroll in bed before you get up or
Exactly.
before you go to sleep at night.
Those are the worst times too.
Yeah.
Like as soon as you wake up, if you're grabbing your phone, you're already starting your day off on the wrong foot. If the last thing you do before you go to bed is
You can't sleep.
scrolling,
Yeah, that blue light.
there's so many toxic, bad things about social media. There are good things, but there's a lot of bad things. So something that I've been giving a lot of thought to over the past probably year and a half, and this is my leveling up, is to declutter your life and starting with less social media, dramatically less social media. So I've deleted the apps from my phone.
Put them in a folder and don't turn on the notifications on like the last page.
Yeah, the notifications are absolutely the worst part, and they do it on purpose. I didn't watch that Netflix special. Did you see it?
Yeah,
Was
I
it
did.
good?
Yeah, it was a little creepy. The Social Network.
The Social
Experiment, right?
The Social
Sound like
Network's a movie on
The
Facebook.
Social Experiment. One of the
Yeah,
two.
yeah. And it's how everything is designed to make it addicting to you.
And you know what? While I was watching it, I was scrolling on my phone.
So
Totally meta.
definitely. So I think that getting rid of the apps, there's other techniques like logging out on your computer, so that way when you get to the screen, it prompts you to put in your username and password again, and you're like, dude, I don't feel like doing that, so you just leave the site.
Yeah.
That's been really helpful. So spending, obviously LinkedIn I've been going hard on, but besides LinkedIn, I've backed away.
And like you said,
90%
you
of
have
my
a
other
time where you
channels.
do that. You do that every day at a certain time because you want to keep that professional connection, but you're not constantly checking it. You do it at a specific
That's
time.
it right there, is if you're using it just to kill time, there's so many more ways that you can be productive. So I've also cut back dramatically on the amount of TV I've been watching. I'm rewatching Lost, and that's basically it. That's like the only thing I'm
I've never
consuming
watched
right now.
Lost, so I wouldn't be rewatching it. I'd be watching it for the first time.
It's on IMDb TV, and it's a good show.
Yeah. I'll have to check it out.
He's
I'll
laughing.
add it to my list. I don't
Right?
watch, I don't
You
watch
gotta watch Lost. Like, you gotta see Lost.
Yeah, I don't watch a ton of TV either. And my TV is like coming to an end because like I don't watch TV. I watch TV seasonally. So like I'll watch it in the winter because I do
When's the
snowshoe and
spring shows? Are they coming to an end? Probably another month, right?
well, I don't watch it in the spring because I want to be outside. I want to be doing things.
yeah.
Like I keep my TV watching to the winter when I need to. It's dark at 5 o'clock. So what else are you going to do?
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's acceptable.
Yeah.
But I've also reduced significantly the amount of TV and movies that I've been watching. So once you've done that, you now have more free time, and quite a bit when you think about it. Like if you actually are recording, I know iPhone has it. I don't do it. I have an Android, but you can like record how much time you're spending inside of each of your apps. Android
it does,
must have
yeah,
it.
it does.
It kind of breaks it down.
Show up a little.
But I bet you if people check
scary.
that at the end of every night or at the end of every week, it's probably disgusting, like sickening of how much time and nothing to show for it.
Right.
Too. So you got to be more mindful and purposeful on when you're using it and why you're using it. I think.
Unless you're listening to a podcast.
Yes.
Then you can.
Oh,
then
don't
you
check
can
my
use it.
Spotify stats. Yeah, that's off the charts. Spotify is just constantly playing at all times for me. But we don't have to consider that a social media site. But from that freed up time, like what are you going to do instead to use it more productively? Go to the gym, start a hobby, artwork, something creative. I've been starting to read a bit more, and I never was a huge reader, and I have a goal that I've set for myself of reading a book a month, which is probably not a ton for the person that reads a lot, but it's a lot for me, and I feel like I'm more accomplished in achieving something, whether that's finishing a book, closing, and be like, I read this book, I now have this newfound information,
Right.
and how long, or audiobooks, I've been doing some of those too, so if it takes me 6 hours to listen to an audiobook, I could have easily spent 6 hours scrolling in a day,
Yeah,
2
and
days,
that's on your, yep.
and had nothing to show for it other than viral memes that I've already seen 10 times before.
Right, exactly. So with all of this extra time, I'm going to ask you, like, what's your Utica rec? What's your new thing, new place that you've been, a great restaurant, something new that you've seen, like, in the recent months that you would like to recommend everybody to get out there and check out?
Joe Petrello's Coffee. There was 1 week where I was taking meetings for work as soon as, like, it was okay for everybody to go back out. I think I went there, like, every day for, like, 5 days straight.
Yeah.
And the dude's like, hey, you want your vanilla latte? I was like, yeah. Like, you already knew it was just, like, the second week, I think.
It's really funny you say that, because Kristen Bocero from United Way just emailed me yesterday. She's like, by the way, I'm at Petrello's Coffee having a Nutella croissant. Have you checked this place out? And I'm like, absolutely. I've been there a million times. My son's girlfriend actually works there, so
nice,
they're
nice,
way
nice,
too
nice.
much.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Good
it's
stuff.
such a cool vibe. You like kind of feel like you're in New York, but you're overlooking the Stanley, so you've got this great like Utica
The
feel.
space is
like
really
this
cool.
is it's a great space.
And I love character, and I love Utica coffee too. So shout out to all of them. And then the other one is they're not based in Utica, but the Utica location just opened up, which is Bold, which is SAE Bowls.
Yep.
They're based out of Albany. They have 4 locations out there. They just opened up a new one right by Big Apple in New Hartford. And I'm trying to talk to them right now about some work, and hopefully things will work out for us to do some digital marketing for them. But their food is awesome.
Yeah.
Real good.
Yeah. I was there before they did their official opening.
Yeah.
So I had
What'd
to
you
check
have?
that. I had, it was called it was something pineapple-y, because I remember I took a picture of it and I said, this is like eating sunshine in a bowl. So it was like a pineapple base bowl, and it was, like the first warm day of spring. So it was great.
I've gotten a couple. The one that's basically just a dessert with chocolate in it and cocoa.
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
Absolutely. So you mentioned you talked to them a little bit about digital. So other companies that may want to reach out, find digital solutions to problems that they're having, how do they find you? How do they connect with you?
Connect with me on LinkedIn, because I'm always
We've said that about 8 times.
It's easy for me to answer quick questions on LinkedIn too, but you can reach me through email. SiteSeeker's website is site-seeker.com. As we discussed, digital advertising is a sweet spot. Digital analytics and reporting and understanding the health of your website, who's coming to it, how we can generate more traffic, more leads, more business for you. Lead generation, we're tapping into some technology, really cool technology that allows us to see the companies coming into your site. A little bit creepy, but really, really valuable for businesses that are really hungry and starved for leads, especially after this year. Yeah. And they just need to open up those pipelines and start picking up the phone and dialing. A lot of people are in sales capacities, and this is really, really helpful technology. But the best programs are really integrated programs where there's a number of things working together. That's where it ends up being most impactful.
Great. So if you have a digital need and you heard something great that kind of resonated with you, reach out to Tom at SiteSeeker. I wanted to announce that the annual meeting is going to be on May 20th at Aquavino. So if you are a chamber member, kind of wondered what we were up to in 2020, what to look forward to in 2021, please join us there. Registration is now at greateruticachamber.org. As always, please check our website, our social media channels for everything coming up Greater Utica Chamber, and we look forward to seeing you back here the end of May. We're going to take a little quick break because we have a lot of things scheduled, and our next guest will be Sarah Foster from Oneida County Tourism. She's going to be joining us on Thursday, May 27th, to talk about all the things to do coming up this summer in the Oneida County region. Talk a little bit about the A to Z tour, food tour that Oneida County Tourism's been working on, and what you can look forward to. So please reach out to us at greateruticachamber.org for all of your business needs. Thanks for tuning in today.
Thanks, Kari.
Thank
Thanks, everyone.
you.